Go.
Okay, so we're going to take this bike apart and we're going to put it in a bike bag. I'm going to give you pretty good at the Tri-Rudy bike bags or something similar. First thing you got to do is take off the pedals. So while your bike still has its wheels on, use an Allen key or a pedal wrench. Remember, when you're taking the pedals off, you go in the opposite direction, so towards the back of the bike to get the pedals to come off. The threads are reversed. So here I'm going to go the back of the bike, down, and off that comes. Now we're going to do the wheels. Pedals are off. I like to do front wheel first. Everybody knows, hopefully I think, knows how to do this part. Very simple. Make sure you're in your big chain ring. That'll come in handy later. Shift. Go all the way down. There we go. So the wheels are off, and you're down to just the frame with chain in the big chain ring. And next we're going to mount it on the something like the actual bike. It's very similar. You got a front fork mount out there, and the Tri-Rudy one actually has a pole back here that your skewers go through and it clamps on. This is a slightly modified version. So I'm going to put my bike in this position, clamp down the front wheel, and I do highly recommend you do this outside the bike bag. It makes life a whole lot simpler. Just like that. And on this particular bike mount, instead of using a skewer at the back with the little pole, we've got a little support mechanism here. And I'm just going to zip tie it into place. And this zip tie is a bit too short. I'm going to connect two zip ties to make it a little longer, but if you have two longer ones, you're good. That just goes through the little bit back there and then over the frame, just to keep it from moving around, and so that it stays in one place. Okay, nice and simple. Now the next thing you're going to do is just to protect your chain ring and your chain, you take two zip ties and you zip tie your chain in place. Zip tie your chain in place there with the drive side parallel to the frame or backwards. You want to keep that in place as well. Because with the Tri-Rudy bags, you've actually got a little little cover, and it works better when it goes on this way. So now I'm going to zip tie this one in place. And that'll protect your chain ring as well as your chain, both of which will come in very handy later on race day. And what we're going to do now is take off the handlebars, and we're going to zip tie them in place so that they don't move around. With the new stems and so forth these days, it's very, very simple. You've got 4 bolts on this particular stem. You got 4 bolts that you undo. Loosen these off. I don't like the idea of taking it apart on this part. the whole headset apart, because that means you have to readjust it. And if you have to readjust it, not everybody's really proficient at that, and it's one thing that you don't necessarily want to have bouncing around on you when they do the bike check, or when you do your bike check, or you put the brakes on. You want that thing to hold steady for you. So I find this to be a much easier system. All the way off. This is a fairly small bike, so things are a little tighter, and we've got a water bottle holder here, so it's in the way. There we go. We'll put those all back on. Put them back on snugly enough so that you're not going to lose anything. In transit, as we know, things get moved around. This way you know exactly where your parts are. So, we're going to take these handlebars. We're going to zip tie them in place. Now this is where a little bit of imagination comes into play. You want to try and get them into a position where you're not going to kink the cables, ruin anything, and it's still going to be fairly safe and not hurt the cabling or the bikes or kink anything. You can do that in a lot of different ways. Once you get it into place, you know where you're gonna want it. I said, it takes a little bit of artwork here. Figure out where you want it to go. I think it's gonna go like that. That should be good. We had to just play around a little bit with it to get it all in the right spot. But right now, I've zip tied it all in place, so it's not moving. It's not gonna injure anything, it's not going to crack anything or scratch anything, so everything's all nice and safe. Your brake levers are not touching anything, which is what you want. And now it's time to protect the frame a little bit. There's a couple of different ways you can do that. We're going to use a little bit of plumber's piping foam, very inexpensive, just like that. Then grab another zip tie. Go all the way through the pedal arm. So that stays in place. There's two more. A lot of zip ties to do this, but they are worth their weight in gold when you get to your race and your bike's not scratched up. There, we've got all that out of the way. It's not going to rub up against anything. You can always take a t-shirt or something, and an old t-shirt, make sure that's all out of the way, and you can wrap something around it to keep things from getting all covered in grease. almost like it was made for it. Okay, protecting all sorts of all the little pieces that can get hurt, scratched up. And you can tape those on if you want, or zip tie, whatever you want to do. Okay, now we're going to take that. Just lifts up. Bike bag like that. Tri-Rudy bags are great because a lot of times you don't have to take the saddle off. This bike would be no different. We can zip it up, not even have to remove the saddle, which is a real bonus. Take the skewers out of the wheels. Together. And remember, when you're putting it back on, you got little springs here. The small side goes inside. Otherwise, it ends up on the outside of the axle, and then your wheel doesn't go on properly. Throw those in your little bag. Remember to let the air out of your tires too, so that when they're on the airplane, let some of the air out of the tire anyway, so that they don't blow up on you. Air expands when you go up high. And that's all there is to it. You do have to remove your saddle with the Tri-Rudy bag or any bike. Make sure to use some tape or mark it so that it goes back on exactly the same way you took it out. And we're good to go. Simple.